What a cute game. I'm just a prancing girl failure on a delightful woodland adventure.
You're not gonna make everyone hate you.
If Platinum Games is known for anything, it's probably... So Cereza and the Lost Demon was a bit unexpected. It's more of an adventure than a hardcore action game, but that expectation of total brutality might have ruined its reception. Young women and societal expectations, right? Name a more iconic duo. The game takes place in Bayonetta's, Cereza's youth, and answers a question we don't often see thoroughly explored in big-name games. Dante, Ryu Hayabusa, Gex, for example.
Ah, ancient Chinese level.
It's rare that we find out how a character came to be, at least in any real detail. Bayonetta is poised, powerful, she can use a chainsaw. Cereza is clumsy, anxious. If we're being honest, I think she'd struggle with the lawnmower, which is all pretty unhelpful because people expect certain things from Bayonetta. And now this company is asking us to enjoy a heartwarming story of growth intelligently told through stirring visuals and Joy-Cons? It's sacrilege. I feel personally attacked by these choices. I would much prefer Ugly Blood Fiesta. Cereza and the Lost Demon launched in 2023 to a whole lot of... What? What is that? It's a firmly platinum game, but removed from the hardcore action lineage. It samples from some of Bayonetta's design conceits, the same kind of concepts that underpin Beautiful Joe, but stands firmly on its own. A unique game with a unique premise, which really is the worst sort of crime. The game was directed by Abibi Teneri, who joined Platinum in 2013 and left sometime after this title's release, which is kind of crushing in retrospect. The guy's mostly known for localization work, this being his first spin in the director's chair, I'm glad they snapped him up elsewhere because the game is not a joke. It's friggin' immaculate. Otherwise, Hideki Kamiya acted as a supervising director and main script writer, which isn't all that surprising in retrospect. Man, imagine getting killed in a Mario Party minigame. But let's set the supplemental material aside and crack the book on Bayonetta's origins. Cereza's youth was troubled, caught between darkness and light, that is, born of an Umbra witch who fell in love with the Lumen sage Baldur. Cereza is the village outcast. She has to suffer the pain of knowing her mother was jailed for a non-transgression, love, and she carries the guilt of being the only lasting result of her mother's act of passion. She's also fairly incompetent as an Umbra witch, neither a prodigy nor free to learn from her mother. She needs to rely on others to get what she wants. The only thing she truly wants is the power to free her mother. So she left town and found a teacher, Morgana, a powerful and mysterious outcast. She's harsh but realistic. Umbra witches control demons with their hair, among other things, and handled poorly, these powers would destroy any budding apprentice, which means she needs a lot of practice.
Cereza, fetch my slippers, you mangy beast! Okay, good. Now, how do I answer emails again?
But Cereza is young. Her ego is wounded after a practice ends badly, and she runs into the nearby Avalon Forest with Morgana's magic-empowering gauntlet in hand to prove herself. The game starts properly when Cereza nearly dies in a fairy ambush. She hastily summons a demon under pressure, which mops the attackers up, and it's stuck in her teddy bear, unable to harm its summoner. So she quickly promises to send him back to hell as soon as she's powerful enough, and honestly, he doesn't have a choice. He loses strength the further he strays, and she's willing to help. They're unlikely allies. Outright bad allies.
Oh, what are you doing?
Cereza and Cheshire. Oh, you. Ah, shit. This is gonna be weird, bro. You explore a dense magical forest, turning up leaves and blazing trails in search of the power you'll need to free your mother and send Cheshire back to hell, away from this whimsical place. So you collect things, work through puzzles, churn through enemies, uncover new paths, and it's all grubbed up with Kamiya's fingerprints. Unlockable moves, perfectible combat, non-human, abstract enemy designs. It's familiar, but a little softer than usual. The game is an aesthetic experience, a considered package that makes use of its medium, a tight story to match a particular mechanical expression. It's good-ass games, and most of it comes down to controls. Why is it always this? I'm a construction worker. I can't use my hammer well. Probably a tool problem, am I right? Bayonetta Origins would be nothing without its controls. During regular play, you control Cereza with the left Joy-Con. She can't do a whole lot except root enemies in place, but thankfully the world will still bend to her whim as long as she gets the steps right. For most of the game, you're carried by Cheshire, controlled with the right Joy-Con. He's big, bulky, functionally invincible, and the only reason you're making it out alive. If he loses too much health, he'll end up back in the teddy bear and need a little recharge to come out swinging. While the play might be a little alien, like any game that gets intentional about its controls, the result is fresh and confident. It's a game doing something worthwhile and unique, and the developers will be brought to justice for this crime. What's worth your money? That's kind of hard to say. Like investment advice, your mileage may vary. Worth is contextual.
Bayonetta Origins isn't worth full price for what it offers. The game didn't appeal to series fans.
What does it offer? Can you know what it offers without experiencing it all the way through? Can you know how something really is with just long plays and trailers and forum posts? No, never. Games have admittedly steep buy-in costs and aren't consistently demoed. Statistically, most people don't bother finishing their games. Most people could never meaningfully tell you whether something is worth something to them, let alone to anyone else. So I think it's important, and especially as I've gotten older, to keep my mind open and give an experience the time it needs, at least if I'm going to talk about it. But K-Bash, you were unfair in all of your old videos! Yeah, well, I changed. It must be really hard for you. There's a lot of ink spilling over what the game isn't, rather than what it is.
What the hell were they thinking?
But it's also an expected outcome. Big names get attention and fans talk. Cereza does exist in conversation with the broader Bayonetta lineage in plot and in play, but the distinction lies in the title, because it's casting off those expectations. It's Cereza's story before the legend. And it's a worthy addition to the series for a lot of reasons, but its most important contribution is contrast. We already have preconceptions about Bayonetta. She's served generationally, actually generationally.
I feel like a fucking celebrity in this town.
But this is not that. It's a glimpse at another facet of Bayonetta's world, and the play follows suit. Also, if you divested from Bayonetta after 3's story, fair enough. Cereza and the Lost Demon sketches and inks a fairy tale world in frame. There's some evidence that the softer visuals and less punishing play make some folks assume that the game is for kids, and therefore not worth the price tag. Lots of stuff for kids isn't worth full price. People keep having kids. What are we doing here, guys? But I think the lower level of challenge is meant to break players in without bumping them, rather than being explicitly designed for children. Gamers will realize Snake doesn't move in MGS3 how he does in 5 and call it clunky. Like they fell off their bike and that's the bike's fault. Gamers take for granted how dual analog controls aren't actually all that intuitive. They're just the meta. You're used to them. I think they were right to scaffold mastery of the controls with lower difficulty. It's a Velveteen storybook fantasy, and to tread every inch of the world is to follow a painter's brush. It's trails and twists, and that alone is worth the trip. It's dripping with personality. Every menu is set just so. Turn over any stone and detail scuttles out. It's so considered in so many small ways. It's the kind of quaint, delicate adornment becoming of both the storybook conceit and this younger Cereza's character. Feminine in expected ways, picture perfect and eager to impress, intricate but not necessarily charged with a vital spark. It's almost too well done.
He has not yet found an emotion to carry into battle.
So I think they nailed the whole damn thing. The world of Bayonetta is relatively underserved. Like Devil May Cry, it's torn between urbanity and stern religious imagery. It's only a matter of time till we get popes on motorcycles. Old stone clashes with city streets, warping, giving way to new fantastical phenomena, so Cereza's elevated fairy tale space maintains a level of cohesion the others can't match, or even aspire to. You're not fighting demons or angels here. Instead, it's the Fae, who've mostly kept to themselves. They're pranksters, kind or cruel on a whim, more or less what you'd expect out of Irish folklore. They'd probably kill it on social media. And they warp sections of Avalon Forest to terrify their enemies before striking. I love what they did with the Fae because it's a lower stakes conflict than what we see in the main games, but uniquely suits the world and the scenario. The environment is as much an obstacle as the fairies, which usually isn't the case in Bayonetta. She can run on walls. in several directions. We watch them twist the woods to their advantage, weaponizing fear and confusion, terrifying a young woman, which is perfect for a game about a person who hasn't truly mastered themselves, who's still looking for their place in the world. The woods are enormous and divided into scores of smaller zones, each with unique visuals and theming, really pushing the edges of the design space. It's a mythical woodland, shit's haunted or magical. Look at this guy. This guy is called Idiot. Zones are mostly interconnected with little gates, requiring magic or different power-ups to bypass. You master the world as you master the game. You find and take the power of various fonts of elemental magic to break down barriers, infuse Cheshire to tackle new challenges. There's an inbuilt sense of progression, and you're always doing something. Digging in the bushes, overturning rocks, completing partner puzzles, unlocking treasure chests, uncovering forgotten messages. You're constantly engaged by this world, and not in any kind of super significant way, but these small actions pile up and lend to the idea that Cereza and Cheshire are deep in the thicket and getting some real hands-on experience. Your power feels earned. And the woods aren't totally antagonistic. You're helped along by the less deranged woodland citizens. You find a grove for children who died lost and alone, releasing them or gifting them different items for rewards and bringing them all together.
I was gonna say the fairies are kind of fucked up for hanging kids, but I would probably do this to about 3 to 5 people.
You're given fast travel through a kindly forest guide. These small inclusions help round out the forest in the mind of the player, create the mental impression of peaceful, sun-dappled greenery underlaid with shadow. Though the forest floor is bathed in light, it's all filtered through the leaves, and the shade is never-ending. Occasionally, you cross over to the realm of the Fae, Tirnanogs, little pocket dungeons sprinkled throughout the world, and these are the game's opportunity to meaningfully challenge you, challenge your synchronicity, your combat mechanics, and I love that they left most of the weird, explicitly gamey puzzles to Tirnanogs rather than the forest. There, everything feels at least passingly organic, even if it's obviously constructed because it's a game. The Tirnanogs let the devs trot out weird stuff that could never fit in the forest, and aesthetically contextualized as the fairies' confabulated, constructed gauntlets.
I think I just perceived the concept of God.
Maybe the most irritating thing I've read about Bayonetta Origins is it's just too easy. I played through the game twice on the normal and the hard difficulty with no major hiccups, but the second run was more enjoyable by a mile because I knew what I was doing, was fairly challenged, and could act with confidence. I think it's one of those games people will be calling a hidden gem for years, even coming from a major studio. You know how people talk. It's fascinating, but it's a more subtle kind of fascination than, like... Yeah, battles are structured like most Platinum action games. You face off with sort of nondescript enemies, which I think is meant to highlight the charisma of the player character, but Cereza really doesn't stand out. And fair enough, Cheshire's doing the damage. Each enemy is designed to visually accentuate the threat they pose in combat. If you see a shield guy, well, that's shield guy, and he's got a shield. You need to deal with the shield. This is a reference to the fact that he's holding a giant fucking shield. They don't stick with you, but when you see them, you know what they do, or you'll learn quick anyway. The actual flow of battle manages to evoke something similar to the main Bayonetta games. Bayonetta proper can feel like a dance, especially if you know your mechanics, smoothly sailing between grounded and aerial play, weaving between enemies. Yeah, I don't think that's happening here. Cereza can't jump here. She can't do a lot, really, but you find yourself contextually focusing on either character, weaving their actions together and moving in harmony. When played with any kind of grace, it becomes a dance, actions flowing into each other, which is particularly impressive from a spin-off title, striking similar series chords in a totally different context, evoking an image, an idea, with mechanics. But it's disjointed, because Cereza is not yet Bayonetta. She needs her summoned demon. Cereza doesn't do almost anything to actually harm enemies. She can snare them with magic, which isn't free, it's a charged ability and it's on a cooldown, by the way. That's the extent of her badassitude. She's almost totally reliant on Cheshire to deal with monsters, which is a hell of a change of pace for the series. Bayonetta is defined by her unassailability, her endless confidence and crushing strength. She could fold me in half, and maybe we don't talk about that in detail. But we're put into a familiar character's shoes at a time when she's vulnerable. For the first time, unlocking new moves for this character makes sense. And it's all low-key stuff, like more uses of crowd control and briefly stunning dudes with Cheshire, but that's it. She's reliant, which works to humanize Cereza as a person, paint layers onto her portrait. Aside from binding enemies, she also recharges Cheshire when he's knocked back into his teddy bear, reflavoring Cereza as a support, a healer. Which is weird, because
Maybe there's a contest for lonely children after this. It's only children, DW. A lonely child is what you're gonna be when I sell you.
I don't think this is a diminishment of the character. I think we need to celebrate the softness of adolescence before the weight of adult responsibility wears us down like waves on rocks. Now, Cheshire can't truly die. He's anchored here. He was summoned from hell. He ain't here for tiddlywinks. Cheshire slashes and guards like an experienced fighter might, and he's so young. But it's all he ever knew in Inferno. In fact, all he does is fight. He fights so much, his attack button is also held and released when an enemy is near death to execute them or to pounce on a recently bound enemy if you unlock that move. There's additional violence layered into his main move. He's almost a one-button, one-note character. Cheshire interacts with the forest, though. You unlock different elemental forms that change how Cheshire attacks and replaces his block button. Damn, bro. Looking like a series of Mario worlds. Water gives him a jet stream, grass grants a tongue grab, earth gives him a body slam, and fire gives him balls. Real wordsmith hours up in here. These moves matter in context. Some enemies have defensive shields that need to be broken with the correct element. Some enemies burrow and need to be knocked up with an earth element slam. Shield guys and flyers are handled with the tongue lash, etc. You find yourself swapping on the fly to match the battle. He's primal and adaptable. He can use new tools with ease. And this is stuff Cereza doesn't carry into battle. She doesn't light fairies on fire or get them wet. She only empowers Cheshire. Like you'd expect, these different elemental forms change Cheshire's base attack. Earth hits slow and hard, fire is chaotic and explosive, grass is rapid and cutting, water is slow but reaches far. And this is the kind of detail you expect, but I need to draw a little attention here. There's no real need for his moveset to change. The form swap exists to layer combat. Some enemies wall your damage off until you respond with the right form. But to go the extra mile and make Cheshire a unique character, with all of these animations, with all the combat charisma you expect from a Platinum game, is so endearing. Sorry, well, I cared a little too much for a minute.
Yeah, I don't really know if it's offering me enough value, dude.
And the controls aren't that alien or challenging to wrangle. If anything, it's the novelty, the mindset holding you back. You only attack with one button, generally, and occasionally you have to hold and depress the button, lowering the amount you need to know to deal damage. You crowd control enemies with another button. You have a guard move limited to only one of the characters, and even the face buttons are only contextually relevant and mostly de-emphasized. Both sticks click in to dodge either character. You don't do a lot of really weird stuff. You don't need to schmoove or become a mechanics master to enjoy Bayonetta Origins, and that is one of its greatest triumphs. It's a story of a total beginner dabbling in forces far beyond her current skill level, and that narrative concept is built into the controls. By making use of an atypical control scheme, it transports the player into Cereza, makes a learner out of any given person. But like I said, your mindset is a hurdle. The real challenge is maintaining a level of awareness of either character's position in battle. Enemies get pretty big. Effects can obscure vision, and when you're fixated on making sure you land these combos, it's easy to tunnel on an enemy with Cheshire and let Cereza wander away. It's incredibly common to find yourself repeatedly dodging attacks and fleeing from danger with Cereza and forget about what Cheshire should be doing. So he takes hits for free, mashes away at nothing, Cereza saunters off, and after a moment you snap back to reality. You need to be working in tandem. Cooperation, accurate synchronous control, is the real measure of player mastery, not combos. I'm shocked that this little title exists at all. It might be gorgeous, it might be aspirational, but these are usually punishing qualities for games, at least on the market side. Something astute somewhere definitely pointed out. Platinum dropped straight fire and they called it not worth full price, because Cereza doesn't turn into a choo-choo train. Yeah, fair enough. That's a pretty inexcusable oversight. 4 out of 10. Okay, yes, I'm being unfair for a joke. It's funny to me. But the beauty of the game isn't wrapped up in its mechanics or its story specifically, but how it weaves those two things together to do something unique in the medium. Cereza and Cheshire are allies of circumstance, not friends. Cheshire only knows blood and battle. Cereza is soft but driven, and she may be weaker, but she's effectively the leader, if only because Cheshire's power in this world is entirely dependent on her magic, and Cereza has goals. Cheshire might not look as charismatic as Cereza, but that's basically true of the character. He's flat, one-dimensional, at least early on. I love how he slowly gives way to her influence. He's like a STEM boomer bitching about the arts, forced to hang out with a theater kid. Cheshire has to round out his personality with exposure. He's cruel early on, mocking Cereza for every failure. It makes sense. He only really knows cruelty, but to him, you're weak or you're strong. He's individuality made manifest, a symbol of hard reality.
What is this Bugs Bunny shit?
But he's also brought in check by his own reliance on Cereza, only capable of understanding power. And he's beaten into submission by the forest. At some point, he's forced to learn and understand that the duo can only survive by working together, and that biting words don't build others up, don't really help anybody. The plot is mostly constructed around an omen from Cereza's dreams. This kid Luca-on invades her headspace, mentions a white wolf and the power to save her mother. We get a glimpse of this before snapping awake at Morgana's house. Later in the woods, Cereza sees him again in the interstitial space between Avalon Forest and the fairy realm. He asks us to destroy 4 elemental cores and to follow the white wolf. We do that for most of the game. Typical video game stuff. But that quest is laced with bond building between the two controllable characters. When you come across the ghost kids, Cereza naturally agrees to help them. She knows what loneliness feels like, and she's a person, has humanity. Cheshire can't believe wasting his time on these kids and outright refuses to help. Jesus, man! So you wander alone for a bit, aware that the best you can do against the Fae is run. It highlights Cheshire's importance, but it's a symbiotic relationship. Cheshire's power is sustained by her, so he eventually comes slinking back, also aware that if she dies, he'll be stuck in the bear forever.
You would just abandon them? Don't you know what it feels like to be torn from someone you love?
But as she said these words, Cereza realized something.
Yeah. Remember how I got here? You little colonizer? The first big boss challenges you to use your elemental powers and work as a team, and getting that final send-off with something as simple as synchronous button mashing feels transcendent. Bayonetta Origins is not a complex game or philosophically challenging. It's good as video games. It knows the medium, it bridges mechanics and story time after time. But Cereza can't get clean or easy wins. She needs to earn it, so the game gives us the Jabberwock. But where the Vorpal sword at? Bro, I'm trying to Snickers snack at this big bitch. Where the sword at? And I'm suddenly aware that I'm very, very old. You can't even damage the thing. Cheshire's claws just bounce off. When you're knocked to the forest floor, Cereza just runs. It lets you marinate in her misery. It's willing to be a storybook and demand your attention. There's the pride before the fall, the actual physical fall, and the stifling gloom of failure. You're harassed through this segment by shadows of yourself, presumably Fey illusions meant to finally destroy Cereza, but she finds the resolve in her mother and beats them back with Cheshire. So when you fight the Jabberwock a second time, you're able to rake its armor off and force it to flee. You're dragged into a brutal final fight, with stage hazards and enormous frame rate obliterating attacks, this ultimate enemy clashing with us on equal terms, so we can inflate him big and round and pop him like a grape. You're never really a great warrior until you can turn a battle into some Tom and Jerry shit. And in spite of the success, their relationship is still strained. Cereza is tempted by an illusion of her mother towards the edge of a cliff, and Cheshire is forced to intervene, which causes an argument. Cereza still isn't emotionally mature enough. The journey's been hard, so tempers flare, and it drives a wedge between the pair. This leads to Cheshire's capture, though, and we're forced to evade the guards, sneaking through a fairy fortress to finally rescue our friend with the help of the White Wolf. The king of the fairies, Puka, finally reveals himself at the end, and he summons an angel in, the level 1 enemy from Bayonetta, to exterminate our heroes, ultimately failing. These fights are flashy, like eye-catching stuff, but the value, again, is that we're seeing Cheshire use his elemental abilities in the cutscenes as you're using them in play. You feel a genuine sense of progression that's now ratified by the story cutscenes, which is especially cool because, mechanically, not much has changed. Not really. Mirroring Cereza, you yourself are now more well-rounded and confident. Later on, he plays to his strengths, cunning over power, to tempt the pair apart. He offers Cheshire an instant portal home. Having grown to trust Cereza, something we've watched blossom for hours of play, he can't bring himself to betray her. He has a sense of pride, even duty. He's growing. Hookah whips him into a frenzy, and suddenly our friend is a boss. And despite his mindless savagery, Cereza doesn't harm him. She lures him into pillars, she tries to connect with him, and eventually she succeeds. There's a lot of little detail work, like musical motifs from other games creeping into the score at pivotal moments, like Cheshire showing visible respect for fallen witches. It is weird playing such a tender Bayonetta game. I think that's the word. Because, before she was like,
Hello, yes? Are 5 years post-birth abortions legal?
This adventure started with Lucaon. We find a crystal in the heart of the forest, a prison for his real body. Lucaon was the White Wolf, and he only needs one thing from us to break his curse, the sacrifice of a powerful demon. But Cereza could never do that. They're partners. He isn't an object. Lucaon tries to take what he wants in a protracted boss fight that shifts from pathing and platforming to a brawl at the core of the forest. Cheshire harnesses the rage that overtook him earlier, and the pair become a single controllable character. You get access to devastating elemental attacks, by which I mean average to subpar, elemental attacks, and a chunky dodge. After spending the entire game wrangling two controllers, two characters, in a negotiating mechanical agreement situation, you're finally whole. It's something you really won't feel the weight of unless you're playing it. Oh my god, a laser battle. Maybe this is for a younger audience. Maybe this is fucking awesome. Cheshire even saves Lucaon before his fall. He's grown enough to develop a sense of honor or empathy for Cereza, sensing her conflicted feelings over the boy. After a mad dash out of the forest, you're finally brought into conflict with Morgana. Throughout the game, you've found and released the spirits of fallen witches, apprentices who died in the forest, presumably all sent by Morgana to rescue her son, the young prince of the Fae, reviled by blood purists, born of the union of fairy and human. Cereza is as close to understanding him as anyone. Morgana wants to sacrifice Cheshire and put down her rebellious apprentice, so they fight. Cereza finally awakens the true power of an Umber Witch, and we battle it out. It may be a weird take, but what I especially love about this final boss is that the player, especially if they've played Bayonetta before, should have no real challenge at all in engaging with this fight. You have witch time, suddenly your controls are unified. This is easy. In fact, it's almost a little underwhelming because of it. And you realize in that moment, or maybe on reflection, that negotiating that relationship between two controllers was the fun part, was the game, the journey. Standing from the top, looking down, it's empowering, but boring, because you're way past this stuff now. Bayonetta Origins is a slow burn. It doesn't fit in with the main games because it can't. Any Bayonetta prequel that seeks to show how she gets her power, how she earned it, could never live up to series expectations. It's a game about a centuries-old, hyper-powerful, sex-positive, and independent witch. It's probably the strongest story of the series because it wanted to be a story first, with play following suit, and exudes raw, painstaking effort at etching every step of Cereza's rise to confidence and power. In the end, you complete the little intro segment Jean guided you through without help. No longer a girl or a child, but someone with a purpose. Morgana, her spirit at least, fades away as Cereza practices her dance. She has no need for a mentor any longer. She's free of her burdens. She's poised, confident, and smiling, and she's earned every bit of it. She sees a future for herself. It's that exact feeling if you've ever struggled for something, fallen on your face time after time, mocked by others while peers and friends were already well settled, and finally found your place, carved it out with everything you had, and you know all the steps, but you're not performing anymore. People can snark and gawk, and it means nothing. You've got your form, and your music, and your light. Of course, if you've never been there, it might just be a cute little dance at the end. Nothing all that special. And anyway, what you get out of a story really depends on you. Jean's story is an additional bit of material that mostly exists to throw rabid Jean fans a bone and provide a concurrent main series connection, because nothing can exist on its own as a delightful, scrumptious meal, and every standalone piece needs to be informed by the broader Easter egg scramble of series continuity. You retread old areas as a reskinned Cereza and fight a boss from Bayonetta 3, which I'm told has implications.
Hey, it's K-Bash. Huge thanks goes out to my $4 patrons. Check them out. Beautiful. And double special thanks goes to my extra generous patrons, who are Adam Welch, Air Pirates Sid, Acropolis, Alpha 42, Ampersand, Andrew Redacted, Angel Rivera, Anthony, Aria, Aaron, Ashley, my wife, my darling. I asked K-Bash to make you smile. Also, hi, Merrick, Azrael, Azura, Atticure, Axon 8, Bear Skeleton, Basement Dweller, Bosch 7, Be Gay, Do Crimes, Bella, more like Smella, Ben M, Beguile, Big Papa Spray, Fight of Cursed Sushi, Blake Against the Machine, Wargle Hargle, Blossom Dante, Boom Dead, BH Operator, Born in Shadow, Brandon S, Brandon Hesse, British Gooch, Cow, Cajun Lady, Cakesar, C-Dub, Casual Male XL, Caesar T, Chef Cow, Hero Hero, Court Fox, Cordit, Chris Bromo, Cody Golden, Comfy Moogle, Commie Hug, Couch Mode, Cosmetic, Crabmonger, Fish Finagler, Crashgers, Crater, Crispy J, Mono 19D, Cup of the Puppa, CW Glassworks, Danky Stag, Swaggy David Castillo, Dara, Dash Granny, Decode, Deadward, Dead, Destrega, Dingus Back, don't read this out loud, oh no, he did Doodle it! Flu, Doug Prince, DJ, Professor K, Dr. House from the critically acclaimed television show House MD, Dr. Cullen PhD, Drop the Big, Duffman, the Protagonist, Dylan Winston, El Jaguar, Elfo, Elpio, Elsa, Emperor Pickle, Empty Tenchi, Eric Monticello, Excalibur Shine, Exorian Hagen, Gnar, Fail Knight, American's just happy to be here, Burns Maximum, Fuzillion, Forte Noir, Frog Vorbis, Frosty _gamer_, Gandalf the Gay, Garen Guarantee, Giggle Bites, Glasses Kohai, Glyph Seeker, Nine Cat, Gobo Bobo, Gobsmack, Goose 6112, Gregor 700, Gray the Darkest Black, Corey, Gucci Plant, Hatsune Miku's Crack House, Arkosh, Heeman, Game and Station, Hermit J, Planet Pixie, Hebe, Honey Mutt, Horn Tiger, how do you know? Huey.
I just took 7 grams of magic mushrooms and now I'm lost in the woods!
I'm supporting K-Bash just because I wanted to make this part of the video longer. Inferno galore. Ingenious Cloud. IOPG. I punched a sandwich. It's not bad. It's time to sue. It's not good. Ivy Ruth Langley. Jack Hydra. Jacob. Jalopy. James. Jams. Jank Dankins. Jason Lasky. Jade. James Vaughn. Jara. Screaming Eyes. Jay Trito. JL Savarus. Jay Deus. JK Hedgehog. John Bo the Joker. Jordan Joyner. Jorzy Burden. Juicy Frost. June. K-Chan. Keegan Too Cool. Keith the Thief. Key the Iron Idol. Kata Snap. King Kuma. Key. Knight Pike. Kitty Caddis. Clock. K-Noe. Cone 2020. Crating. Crazy Dark Chocolate. Proper Time. Pice. Kyle. Nut Mac. KZ Excellent. Lady Weed. Laundry Mom. Lego Sid. Lethal Nibbles. Linkle. Little Big Trouble. Loathsome Dung Eater. Lion Shard. Juan. Low Res. Low Fat Moger. Lucas Boy. Blood Mac James. Lunati. Magic Meows. Malamatic Wolf. Manapool. Manic Pixie Space Pirate. Val Fever. Mara Ganger. Hercules. Marcus Rambles. Massive. Maxwell B. Maximum Dog. Meaty Smack. Mechanized Memories. Meeple Puppet. Mega Boy E Nasty. Melly 10. Metal Gear Gaseous. Michelle Citrano. Mike DeVio. Manadams. Mithras. Moa. Bobby Dobby. Big Titty Gop. GF Cooley. Monochrome Only. Monochrome Rainbow. Morgana Black. Mori. Mort. Modi. Mr. Pee Pee Poo Poo Kaka. Mr. Yeety Dabface McYoink Bomb. Mirna. Naira New. Nito Torpedo. Neon Dwarf. Nick Krishna. Nifty Rex. Not Nobel. Nuggy. Okami. OJ McMuffins. Old Burgle. Old Man Cranberry. Omni Nerd Zero. 137. Only LK. Plant. Oscar. Paperland. PBK. Pandemic Cowboy. Pelagic Undulation. PK Gaming. Mike. Popular Hitman. Prismatic Dan. Pringle Prongle. Pringle Prongle. Probably not Grady. Project Darklight. Punch Fighter Champion. Ponosaurus Rex. Quasar McDougal. Quillworth. Raging Ataraxia. Real Beans. Reggie Rodriguez. Renteca Bond. Ringed Relay. Rowlet's Bowtie. Roylondo. RP Gamer. Ryan Michelle. Saigon Man. Salsa. Salty Smasher. Scribe Slendy. Sakai no Award. Sensual Coder. Saphirium. 7 Thumbs Up. Sexy Bionicle GF. Sergeant Shipwreck. Shaw. Nintendo. Shut up, Wesley. Silver Bear 909. Sin. God! Sir Doodle's alive. Seriously tired of waiting in line. Sir Diggles XD. Sir Speedster. Skyward Lead. Sleepy Wabbit. Slippy Sloppy Bippy Boppy. Snart. Small Turtle House. So Zeta Dad. Sock'em Bopper. Suckdolager. Space Lizard. Sport. Spider Dad. Squidget. Squishword. Star Night Sky. Streffin Battle. Super Dingus. Super Sandwich Guy. Taya Toxin. Shorn Chubbington. Terrence Swift. The artist formerly known as Sam the Sam. The Big Bubby. The Clown Prince of Cringe. The good Lord has blessed me. Hallelujah. The Green Look. The Crispy Boy.
The original Nars's Diet Thick Dew trademark Neo edition.
The Peacemaker Pyro.
The Salt
Knight.
The Nomad. The Real McCoy.
The Toasted One.
Big Dick Mystic.
Thresh.
Drips Heart.
Tiggles McGuffin.
Tim Lobster.
Timid the Writer.
Tony Jones. The Legend.
Total Play.
Travis Edwards.
Tropical Avera.
Twiddle Chungus. Ty Guy 9001. Unlawful Skies. Crippling Gotcha Addiction.
Vid. Vacant Plaza.
Valenrist.
Venom.
Vice Plot. Viewers like you.
Vic.
Volcando. Joaquin, get right in my bag.
Waposa.
Wayne is boss.
Weed Trash.
Waylon.
Where am I? Help? Whiskey Dono. Widgie. Winter Solstice.
Win TV.
Wrenchim. Zanny Tanner.
Sean D. Stravius. Your boy Flyers.
Yero 12.
Yashichi.
Yay Kundo. Zachary Lives. Zachary D.
Zanasso.
Sane the Impure.
Sane the Pure.
Zed Slayer Gamer. Zero Salazar. Z-Nova. Cyberpunk.
If you'd like to help support the show, unlock new long-form projects, and help me keep improving, check out my Patreon. We got lots more videos in store. Stay tuned for more. K-Bash out.